Hello, mums to be, and those thinking about having a baby and wondering if they can afford it. Welcome to the Mum's Guide to Money. So, I'm Charlene Smith, and I'm the author of the book, The Mum's Guide to Money, and I also write a blog helping mums to be and new mums such as yourself plan, budget, and sort out the logistics for your maternity leave. So, it's not advice session. I'm not a midwife, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. So, I'm an accountant here to talk to you about money, as the name suggests, and also all the logistics. All how do I plan? How do I make a budget? How do I figure this out? How do I figure that out? So you'll get plenty of those sorts of tips from my content. So today we're talking about maternity leave keeping in touch days, also called KIT. Obviously, this advice is relevant for the UK. So if you're in another country, see what equivalent leave applies to you. So you're in the right place. If you're planning a baby, you might be thinking, oh, I just don't know the rules. Well, it's really confusing. I don't know where to even look, don't know what to even consider. I'm sure a baby's expensive. I'd love one, but I just can't afford it. So I cover loads of tips for people like yourself who are thinking about starting a family, and start to try and break things down. Easy digestible information, because we're all really time poor, me included, and you don't want to listen to someone go on for hours about something they could tell you quite quickly. You might already be expecting, so you're starting to get a bit confused. You're not sure where you stand with things. I know HR policy and procedure is really dull, even if you're assuming your work even has one. Not everybody has the luxury of this kind of information to their fingertips. So this would be relevant for you. And even if you're already on maternity leave, you don't really have a plan, you're not quite sure what's going to happen in this next sort of period where you're away from work, this information is relevant to you as well. So this is, I think, the fourth tip in my series. So this is going to go on for another 26 days, so 30 days of tips, all focused on planning maternity leave from a money point of view, logistics, how much stuff do I need, what size do I need, how long I'm going to have off, all those sorts of things. So they're all the sorts of the topics over the next couple of weeks. So today we're going to talk about maternity leave keeping in touch days. So what are do I get? Realise there's a typo on the slide. Let's quick. So I'm Charlene. I've written a book this year, which is called The Mum's Guide to Money. Followed on sort of natural blog that I started writing in the summer of 2020, because like lots of people, started out with good intentions of doing Couch to 5K and all those sorts of good things that people started doing when they were working from home. But obviously, as the winter started to less like evenings to do stuff, so I started to write a blog to fill in some of my spare time. And as I say, I'm not here to give you medical advice. It's all about the money. How do I get more of it? How do I spend less of it? And how do I sort of make it go further? So maternity leave, so keeping in touch days. So it's basically what the name says on the tin. So it's a chance for you to come into work, and keep up to date with what's going on. So really important that you remember that you have to take keeping in touch days while you were still on maternity leave. So maternity leave, which you might remember from other videos that I've done, is that official 52-week period between your due date, or if your baby was early, from their birth date. So 52 weeks on from there. There is other leave, obviously, that we can wrap around either end of maternity leave. And sometimes people so just make sure that when you're looking at these things, you are looking at the right sort of time period in that time you're away from work. So there's lots of benefits to taking them for both you and your employer, and I'll cover a couple of those today. And best of all, again, I didn't know this until it was kind of too late. You don't have to work a full day to get paid for the full day. So, if you're concerned about childcare, or you've only got an hour of childcare, or whatever it might be, just remind them you don't have to come in for the whole day, for them to have to pay you for the whole day. So it's a bit of an untapped source of money on maternity leave, and it's obviously an important one as well. So how many kit days can I take? So here in the UK we can have up to 10 kit days during that sort of up to 52 weeks, depending on how long you're taking. If you take shorter than 52 weeks, you can still have 10 days. They need to be taken before that kind of official maternity leave period is over. So make sure you don't sort of say, I'll have kit days after maternity's over, because you'll miss out. And so they're really important because they don't affect your sort of entitlement to maternity pay or maternity leave. So they don't interrupt things. That's why it's really important that you do take some, because it's sort of a bit of extra money that I'm sure you will come to appreciate, especially after your maternity pay stops coming in. So they don't have any effect on your maternity leave or your maternity pay. So it's just considered as sort of extra money that in that time. They're not a way to extend your maternity leave, so you don't get 52 weeks plus 10 kit days. You have to take the 10 within the 52 weeks, if that makes sense. But like I said, they are a really good way to get 2 weeks of extra pay that you might not have factored into your plans, you might not have thought about. I know personally, I didn't really think about them, because I was like, it'll cost me more to get there than I'll make, because at the time I had quite a long commute. But in hindsight, I probably should have thought about it a bit more, and made sure I took them. My second maternity leave, I took every second of my kit days, because I ran out of money. And that's one of the reasons why I've written this book, actually, is because I don't want other new mums to be in my position where I have to, you're forced back to work before you're ready. And one of the reasons I ran out of money is because I had twins. Now you'd think that already with a child, I would have a bit of a clue about maternity leave and making sure things were sort of all ship shape. But I think I was a bit a bit cocky, thinking I've done this before. I was on a really good maternity pay package, so wasn't getting statutory maternity pay, and I was just a bit blasé about the whole thing. And I didn't really have a plan, and I was a bit sleep deprived and a bit crazy, which is what happens sometimes when you've got too little people keeping you awake. And before I knew it, I think I was about the 6-month mark, and I was literally tipping money boxes out to pay for nappies. I didn't have a plan. I ran out of money. Like, what am I going to do? I really didn't want to go back to work until I had a certain sort of time period in mind. So I started to look into things, and keeping in touch days actually rescued me, tied me over for a little while until I was ready to start to go back into, sort of proper paid work. So what do you need to tell your boss? Now, it's always important with anything maternity leave related. So sometimes you might be not quite thinking straight and you've got a lot on your mind. So always, when you're dealing with this stuff, put things in writing. Don't sort of verbally agree stuff, and then because 6 months later you'll forget, they'll forget. Always get it in writing. So when it comes to kit days, you need to both agree. So you can't force them to let you have a kit day, and they can't force you to come in. But quite often, depending on where you work, you might have to come in to do some training, come to a team meeting, just keeping up to date. That's the whole point, keeping up to date with what's going on. Always agree in writing up front what you'll be paid. So I was lucky and I just got paid the equivalent of my normal day's pay, but make sure that you're at least getting minimum wage. They can't sort of give you some sort of token hourly rate for a kit day. You need to be paid for the whole day, whether you're there for an hour or 7.4, depending on what your what your requirements are. So make sure that you get that agreed up front in writing. And my top tip is, don't just agree it with your manager, because they might leave. So again, happened to me. My lovely manager, when I was on my second maternity leave, got made redundant. I came back, didn't know my new manager, she didn't know me, and lo and behold, everything I'd agreed before I went off, no one had any record or didn't really care. So make sure you agree it with your manager, but also include HR and payroll, so it goes on your record, and there's a proper official record of what you've agreed, just in case there's any problems later on. So are there any other benefits to taking a kit day besides the money? So you can use it at the end of maternity to try and sort of come back part-time for a couple of weeks. So I've also done that, used it to sort of phase myself back in. I wasn't quite ready to come back full-time, so I used some kit days to come back part-time. And you can also, another good idea, if you're thinking about part-time working when you go back, not saying you have to do that, I don't do it, I don't work part-time, but if you're thinking about coming back part-time, you think work might be a bit funny, or you're not quite sure about doing your job part-time, use some kit days to sort of practice and see, if you can do your job, in 3 days, whatever it might be. So use those days to sort of have a practice, or just gradually ease yourself back in while you get things sorted out. So tell me in the comments sort of how long you're thinking about having off. I'll tell you how long I had off. So my first time round, I was very focused on my career, on making sure I didn't lose anything from a money point of view. Sounds a bit shallow, but making sure you so focused on making sure everything's covered. So I think the first time around I had 26 weeks, because I needed to make sure that I didn't lose any of my other benefits like my bonus, etc. And then my second maternity, I was working somewhere different, and their maternity pay was very good, even though I ran out of money. And my plan was to have a whole year, but it just didn't work out that way. I think I was off for about 9 or 10 months in the end. And a full year's maternity is not for everybody. So you can use kit days and stuff to sort of experiment and see how things work out for you. So this is sort of part of my overall tips on how to get more maternity pay, because remember, kit days don't extend your leave, but they do extend your money. So I'll cover these in other videos, but this is just a quick overview of how to get more maternity pay. So if you look there in box number A, so take some holidays before your due date. So 2 weeks holiday means you can finish a bit earlier while you're a bit uncomfortable. The worst thing you can do is go on maternity any earlier than you absolutely have to. I know things aren't always textbook, and sometimes you might be signed off sick, or other things happen, but if you can, with the best will in the world, try your hardest to hold off on starting maternity till your due date. Reason being is because as soon as you start maternity, the clock starts ticking on your maternity pay and on your maternity leave. So after 39 weeks, your maternity pay is going to stop. And if you're having a year off, that's 13 weeks when you're not going to have any money coming in. So as soon as your due date comes, or if you're earlier than that, maternity pay does start for you. So whether that's excuse me, statutory maternity pay, or you're on a sort of enhanced employer situation where they're paying you more, irrespective, it has to start on that day, depending on either if it's here early or the due date. So once you've done all that, you've obviously got keeping in touch days, so you can take those at any time during your maternity. I'd say both times I've done it, I've taken it towards the end because I've needed the money. Excuse me. So when your annual leave is officially over, so when the clock has stopped on that 52 weeks or however long you've taken it, you will have built up some holidays and some bank holidays during that time you've been off. So you either can have those paid out, or take those days before you come back to work. So depending on what you agree with your boss. So there are my kind of four areas to get more maternity pay as such, even though only a sort of box B is technically called maternity pay. But how to get the most sort of possible money for that time that you're off. So I hope this tip's been useful. Because say it's part of a bigger series. I'm doing sort of 30 days worth of. Obviously, you could buy my book if you can't wait till the 30 days is up, because all of these great tips are in the book. I don't think it's bad value, so you can get a Kindle version for $4.99 or a paperback for $9.99. And I'll put the link in the comments so that if you'd like to have a look, you can check it out. So I also have some bonus content. So if you look on my page, I've just put a video on there showing you inside the book all the topics that I cover, but also the bonus content. So the maternity leave planner that I give you for free that you get from my website, and also the maternity leave budget calculator. So for 10 quid or 5 if you're doing Kindle, you get all this stuff. It's all. Download my the bonus content for free and not buy my book, but you might struggle because the book steps you through, and the planner and the calculator are where you kind of complete your homework, if you like. So you've got somewhere nice. It's all nice and laid out for you. You've just got to put the information in, and it helps you kind of answer quite a lot of questions. Actually, it was quite. When I was writing it, thinking, I could have done with my own advice a few years ago. So this is just a quick slide of what you'll see in the calculator. So this is there's a few screens. It's idea is you put your information in. I don't save anything. I don't collect anything. It's all on your device. So you put your information in, and figure out what your income will be while you're in maternity, what your expenses are, and it will, using the sort of fancy graphs and stuff that are in there, it'll tell you when you're going to run out of money, how much you need to save, and so on. So I think it's quite a useful tool. Again, it's there to help you. It's done all the maths. You just need to put the information in. This is inside the planner. Like I said, I've just put a video on my Facebook page showing you inside some of the topics that I cover. And if you've ever been to like a training course, it's like a nice workbook there, loads of questions to get your brain going, thinking about answering some of the questions that you've probably got, especially around figuring out how long to have off work. That's a real tough one. Loads of different scenarios for you to think about, and I quite enjoyed writing that section. Again, wish I'd had that kind of advice when I was trying to make that decision. So I hope that's been helpful. Thank you. Come back tomorrow for more tips. So tomorrow I think is day 5 of these tips. Every day I'm answering a different question. If you've got anything specific you'd like me to cover, put it in the comments and I'll cover it in a future tip video. In the meantime, you can check out my website. I've got lots of blog posts on there, or you can obviously follow me on the usual social media pages. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow.